Tommy. Nice to meet
Hey,
you.
hey,
This
hey,
meeting
it's
is
nice to
being
meet
recorded.
you. If I'm not mistaken, you just recently hopped in, is that right?
Hey, that's right. Yes, sir.
Good stuff. How many days is it?
This is day three.
Day three? Okay. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. How are you liking things thus far?
I mean, I'm loving everything. I didn't get into the actual membership
Okay.
until today. That was like my
Okay.
bad for miscommunication.
Okay.
In the meantime, I've been watching the recordings and like
Okay.
seeing how the flow goes, and I love it. I'm just so excited to dive right in. I really am.
Hell yeah. Love to hear that. Love to
Yeah,
hear that.
thank you.
Just to give you a little bit of context on myself, we have a couple other people hopping in.
Uh-huh.
So I'm obviously one of the coaches here with
Hmm.
Jack and Dan. In
Hmm.
terms of what I typically do on these calls, it really is based on what people need. I don't really have like a set agenda.
Hmm.
It just comes down to whoever has questions and what we talk about. I could talk about most any and everything if it's specifically sales related, if it is offer related, if it is how do I study, if it is how do I evaluate an offer, if it's anything and everything. Um, I try to just really meet people where they're at. I've
Yeah.
been in sales for almost 4 years at this point. I've been in a variety of different roles. So basically, not saying mine is the best opinion on everything, but I do have an opinion on most things.
I
So,
would love your opinion on how to study as well, since I'm like diving right in immediately
all right.
today.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Dom, I see you hopped on as well.
Yes, yes, Tommy, how you doing, man?
I'm doing fantastic, man. I am highly favored and blessed. How have things
Uh,
been since we last chatted?
yeah, it's good. It's good. Working quite a bit. Uh, and I do like a delivery driving job, so it's not really an excuse. So I only work Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I'm 20 years old, obviously, just shaved all my hair off in it, so that's how I probably look a bit older. Um,
No
but
worries, bro.
but yeah, I feel like with me, I'm a very practical person,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I had this conversation with you before where I was like,
Yep.
whatever program or course I joined, I never
Yep.
actually completed the whole course.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with this, I'm kind of still doing the same thing where you see how you were saying run through the whole thing, get it through your brain, then relapse it again, keep the
Yep.
notes, relapse it again,
Yep.
digest it, relapse it again. Like I should be listening to it whilst driving, but I'm listening to it whilst driving. I'm like, oh shit, I should take some notes. Oh shit, and I just
Mm-hmm.
don't watch it. So
Mm-hmm.
in a sense, it's definitely a bad mental side from me.
Okay.
Um, but what I've done now, because I had that onboarding call with Dan, what we
Mm-hmm.
did was run through basically how everything's going. So you obviously got the three things: state, skill, and offer.
Yep.
And he was asking, okay, so in your situation where never done sales in my life before, basically,
Yep.
I've done watched a couple YouTube videos, took in some notes and that, but never like properly dived into it. He was
Yep.
like, go through the state first, then your skill, and then your offer.
Yep.
But for me, prior to that, obviously, Dan doesn't know my life and what I've done before. And I've literally like heavily was in a community where I was heavily on state, limiting beliefs,
Mm-hmm.
your mentality, just
Yep.
building yourself up as a character, trying to bridge that gap between your current reality and your dream outcome, and
Yep.
just stepping into that version of yourself now. So I've done a
Mm-hmm.
lot of that stay work already where I've ingrained it a lot. So what I've done now is like, why am I, yes, I should be listening to Dan, but at the same time, Dan doesn't know my life. Why am I going to be going through all these things where I already know it? Obviously,
Right.
I'll go back to it. I'll go back to it. I'm
Yeah.
not saying I know everything. I'm saying I'll go back to it and refresh
Mm-hmm.
my mind and maybe learn something new. I'm saying I think the biggest key for me right now would be to go to skill. I don't know what
Okay.
your point of view is
Okay.
on that, but
Good. First of all, thank you for giving me context. 2 points on that. Number one, as soon as you start to say, like, I've got X figured out, that's usually when you leave yourself open to getting blindsided. So that's
Mhm.
something I will just briefly say. Believe me, the time when I was like, yeah, man, like this offer's nailed, everything's perfect, that's the time where we had a comeuppance coming. So I would just say, um, obviously, you can have the belief that you do have an understanding. And I'm not saying question that, but
Mhm.
just food for thought around that.
Of course.
The other thing that's going to be important, which is just kind of like the I guess the opposite of that, is at the end of the day, who's responsible to make sure you go through everything and get results?
Me.
It's you. So that means that ultimately, yes, Dan and even myself are advisors,
Mhm.
but you're the king of your life, and we're advising you on your life, but it's your kingdom at the end of the day. So if you genuinely feel from the bottom of your heart, the most effective and efficient way for you is going to be to go through and do the actual more skills portion, then I personally recommend go ahead and do that. Um, because like you said, obviously you have had a lot, because essentially each of the three sections is designed to solve a specific problem. One is what to do, i.e., like what specific words do I say? How do I do it, etc. Another one is you as a person being the one who's wielding what you're doing. So it's kind of like here's a gun, but then there's a person using the gun. Like if you don't have a gun, you can't do jack. That's where the skills come into play. But if the person isn't trained, isn't qualified, doesn't know anything about how to even like sight up the gun properly, guess what? Doesn't matter how good the gun you got is, it ain't gonna work. That's where state comes in. And then of course, if you don't have any bullets, i.e. an offer, you're not gonna be able to do anything anyways. So each has a specific reason for existing. But if you feel like, hey, I'm already trained in terms of using a gun, I just need a gun to use, do that. So hopefully that makes sense. You have any follow-up thoughts on that?
No, that's literally how I view it as well. Everything,
Okay.
everything works. It just depends on the person and if it works for you and if do you work.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
absolutely right.
Absolutely. But good job. So in terms of that, then I would 100% recommend going through kind of, I think I may have shared the Google Doc last time in terms of how I went through it. If I did or didn't, if I need to, I can share it again. That's totally fine. But in terms of how I was trying to go through and, verbally actually saying everything and writing stuff out if I needed help with it, like there's a whole flow I go through with it. So,
Okay.
so I can maybe share that again if you need it.
Yeah. I
But
mean, last time I didn't see it. I don't think so. It'd be great if
okay.
you can run.
Okay. Well, I made sure just in the Zoom chat, but I'll get it over to you. So we can definitely touch on that. And then I see we have Casper in here and we have Maya. I don't believe Maya, we've had the chance to connect up to this point. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, I'm quite new, so
Yeah.
this is my first coaching call.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. When did you hop in?
I think about like 3 weeks ago, but I was away. I was in
Okay.
Bali, so I've just only come back to the UK. So
Okay. Okay. Beautiful stuff. Beautiful stuff. Have you had the chance to start diving into everything?
a little bit, yeah. I
Okay.
haven't made like a lot of progress yet, but yeah, I made a
Okay.
start, so that's
Okay.
good.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Good stuff. Well, happy to have you. Just
Thank
for your
you.
context, I was telling Roxy this a little bit before. This is like whatever questions you got or any problems you're running into. I don't limit myself to one specific thing. I know Dan and Jack kind of have like topics, but I've been in the high tech space for almost 4 years. I've been on a variety of different offers, a variety of different positions. I have a lot of opinions on different stuff. So if you're interested in hearing about anything or you want any clarification or any situations you're running into, then I try to help you as best I can. So
Sounds good.
this is
Thank
kind of
you.
like you can bring whatever you want and I'll try to help you fix it. And then I see we've got Casper in here as well. How are you been, man? It's been a bit since we last chatted.
Yeah, I'm good. Started working on the team with Jack and Dan.
Oh yeah, good stuff. Good stuff, man. Well, happy you're able to start making some progress. If you need anything from me, of course, let me know, and I'll try to help you as best I can. So I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but what would be the most helpful for people because it's a little bit newer is like, how do you go about getting good quickly? Is that accurate for so Roxy, that's a yes. Dom, obviously, and then okay, cool. So essentially, when I go through any training program, and I've been through most training programs you probably thought about potentially joining other than Dan's, the thing that I did to get to where I understood stuff was a couple of things. The first thing is I would go through the material top to bottom and just listen to it without any judgment whatsoever. The reason why, and maybe this is true for you, I would find that if I'm listening and learning about step one, and I am not understanding how it fits within altogether, let's say there's 10 steps. If I don't know where I'm trying to go in step 10, in my head, it's kind of like a distraction. It's like an open loop where I'm only half listening to step one, but then I'm trying to like piece together where we're going at the end of the day. So what I would do personally is without any judgment, would go through steps 1 through 10 and just absorb to the best of my abilities, almost like situate myself within the material. So I get an idea of how everything kind of flows together and ultimately where we're going at the end of the day.
Yeah, you don't go to the step 10 if you don't focus on the step 10 if you didn't go through step 1 or 2.
Yeah, exactly. So I would start in step 1 and go all the way through, but I wouldn't be like, okay, I now have to master step 1 because I don't even know where I'm going. So that's how I would approach it. And this is more of just like your typical like passive listening. So as Dom's driving around for his job, he's listening to this stuff. He's like, oh, that's a good note that I should probably take. That's what I would do. The first step, go through it top to bottom one time. The second time I go through it is when I'm going through steps 1 through 10, but then I'm trying to apply myself, where I'm actually taking notes. I'm intentionally putting mental energy into figuring this out. If I'm having to write stuff down, if I'm having to create things off the top of my head to make it fit within what I'm talking about, that's what I do. So like that analogy of a gun, where did I come up with that? That's because I thought about it because I was trying to make it make sense to other people. Because there's the tool, the person, and then of course the bullets. Same concept. And so you'll go through it a second time where you're actively taking notes and really trying to understand it. Once you feel you have the knowledge understood, because you're going from you don't know anything most of the time, do you know anything, to now I know something about something. But just because I know something about something does not mean I can do it. That's like the next bridge we have to cross. Now, the way that you cross that bridge is by actively setting time aside to do the thing. What do I mean by that? That means you can literally print off a script, or you can print off the framework, and then you, for like 60 minutes, what I would do is I would take my phone, set 60 minutes aside, specifically me without distractions, to practice. And this was my golden time of the day. No matter what happened, I had the standard with myself that these 60 minutes were precious and they are going towards me improving my future. If I had to wake up earlier to do it, that's when I would do it. If I'm more of an evening person, I do it in the evening. Personally, I like it in the morning because then that's the most consistent thing I would always do. Because when I had to wake up at like 3 a.m, I would be in bed by like 7 p.m. after my trucking job, and I'd be exhausted. So for the sake of consistency, I would do it first thing in the morning. And then you just recite it to yourself. You say it out loud. You don't act like, hey, I can just get away reading it. No, you sit your butt down and then you actually verbally say it top to bottom. And what's going to happen is over time, you're going to say it. Then you're going to start thinking, well, I've said this 3, 4, 5 times. What would a prospect say in response to this? And then you're mentally going to start playing basically back and forth with, on one side, it's you. And on the other side, it's you also pretending to be a prospect. And then they'll say something, and then you're going to have questions that pop up. You'll be like, you know what? They answered this interesting, they gave me an interesting response this time. How would I take that response and then move it into the next step of the framework? And then you're going to sit there for a bit, and you're going to be like, could I try it this way? And you're going to try it, and then maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. And be like, why didn't it work out? Then you could bring that question to a coaching call. Or, whatever, maybe you come up with it and you figure out, you watch in the training, you're like, oh, that's where Dan answered it like a year ago or like 6 months ago, where he covered that specific question because somebody else had it. That's where you start to gain mental flexibility within the framework. Now, the last thing ultimately is getting to the stage where you're so comfortable doing the framework and going kind of back and forth with you and this pretend prospect you're playing, until now it's like, okay, I have an idea of how this works. Let me try it with somebody else. Because there's the perfect scenario you're running into when you're just mentally doing it in your mind, when you're in the shower, when you're out and about driving. There's that perfect scenario where they give you the perfect answer. And then there's like real life where they don't give you the perfect answer. And then you have to figure it out. The best way to get real practice is by role playing with other people, or if you're on an offer, actually taking calls. Now, obviously, you don't want to take calls before you're ready. So that's why I recommend, once you're familiar, take that 60 minutes, that golden hour, and then find a time to take that 60 minutes and do it with somebody else and role play. That's when you can start to get the repetition. And then you're going to start very easy. You're going to ask them, hey, I'm just trying to run through the framework. How can I, let's go from top to bottom. Don't be an asshole prospect. I'm just trying to get my feet under me. Then you'll do it. And you're like, okay, we'll make it a little bit more challenging. And you're going to do that. And then you're going to get stumped. And you might bring it to a coaching call. And you just keep doing it until you get to the stage you're dealing with a Frankenstein level prospect who is an asshole. And then you're still able to do what you need to do with that prospect. And here's the beautiful thing. By the time you first show up on your first calls, or you have to do a role play with a sales manager to get on an offer, you'll be so well drilled that it's easy. And then you just get the position and then you close deals. That's what typically happens. Now, if I zoom out, kind of like what I told Dom before, at the end of the day, I can't, go to where you live, wake you up at 5 a.m. and say, you got to do your drills. That's ultimately your responsibility. I also can't push myself outside my comfort zone to start practicing with other people. That's another thing that you have to decide to do for yourself. And the other thing that I'll also talk about is it's so easy to just not do it. Like, it's easy for you, like it costs you zero money to mentally run through the framework back and forth with a pretend prospect in your mind. It costs you nothing except time and a little bit of time away from TikTok. That's it. But most people don't do it. Why? Because just because it's easy to do is also the reason why it's easy not to do. But if you think about where you're trying to go, what do you feel is going to serve you best? Doing the easy thing that's not going to help you, or actually doing the slightly more challenging thing of being consistent in training? Obviously, that's an answer that everybody knows the answer to. So that is how I went through systematically, going from somebody who basically had no idea how to talk to human beings, and then was able to get my first 10K month. That's the exact same process. And that's what I go through with every single training program that I go through to really absorb what's going on as I'm going through it. So does anybody have any follow-up questions on that? I know that my fathom saying I've been monologuing for close to 7 minutes. Probably been a little bit more than that. But does all this make sense? Or do you have any follow-up questions or concerns or specific things we have to get dialed for your specific situation?
Yeah, just curious on that. You said you will listen to everything and then go through it.
Yep.
That, for example, that would just be like going through all the state modules, listening to them, and then staying in state, and then just like actively taking the notes for that. Okay.
Yeah. So specific. Good question. So specifically, I am thinking more so about the framework itself, because state is more so. I mean, as Dom kind of mentioned before, it's a lot of like understanding beliefs, understanding like where you're coming from, limitation beliefs, like that type of stuff. Because state, a big part of that's going to be uncovering what is holding you back from living your best life. And that, of course, is something that if I remember correctly, the modules are not crazy long. Obviously, there's like additional stuff you can do, like there's audiobooks and other stuff you can go through, which I highly recommend you do. But what I'm specifically referring to is the actual skills portion. Because obviously, there's you, and then there's the gun that you can use. Like, as Don mentioned before, he feels like he's all right now from like a state perspective. He needs the gun to practice with. Make sense? Cool. And I saw Dom did come off mute for a bit.
Yeah, can I answer Dave as well? I like doing the same approach as well, where I like killing two birds with one stone in a sense,
Yep.
right? So like I said, driving and listening to the modules, and then
Yep.
maybe going back and then writing some notes over it. Some of the modules are like group calls, for example, masterclasses, and they are pretty long, and sometimes it's not on the topic, and it's sometimes talking about them. Let's say people on the call, live on the call, they ask some questions, and it kind of goes off tangent. That's what's kind of like I'm listening to it, and I'm putting it on like 2x, 2.5x, and then I just like finish it off, and it's like an hour. Even me putting on 2.5x, and that's an hour done of one module. And I'm like, have I even done anything? Have I moved? You understand? So when I'm driving, it's like, okay, cool. I'm driving. I can't really listen to it perfectly, because I have to keep on a move. Talk to customers, etc., etc. And even when I'm sitting down on the laptop, I'm sitting on my desk and I'm sitting here for an hour, covering one subject in a sense. You know what I'm talking about. So, it's basically like, obviously we still go through them because it's what has been done for us on the roadmap. But would you like to actually learn the skills and learn all of this stuff? Would you recommend to like kind of skip the masterclasses first, or I don't know.
Yeah. So basically, the core is going to be the modules, like the core modules. That's going to be here's how you're supposed to do it. The coaching calls are typically when I have a question about doing said thing. I ran into this one issue when I'm role playing. or I ran into this one issue on my call. How do you recommend I make adjustments? So there's the core framework, and then there's problem solving the framework. So if you're looking to kill two birds with one stone, do the regular modules and actually practice, like verbally as you're driving around. Is like, what's the first question I need to ask? Cool. What's the second question? What's the third question? What's the fourth, fifth, sixth? You run through that 10, 20, 50, 100 times. You'll be like, okay, I got the framework. Then it's going to be, let me practice with myself as I'm driving around what a prospect would be. Okay, well, the answer to this goal question is they want to lose 10 pounds, 15 pounds, 30 pounds. Okay, well, when they say 10 pounds and they truly only want to lose 10 pounds, that doesn't seem like it's that big. ... So then how do you deal with somebody who doesn't want to lose a huge amount of weight, but then they're still showing up to a sales call to lose weight? That's where those open loops come in, and that's where listening to the additional training is going to be helpful. And so that's, if we're talking from a kill two birds with one stone perspective, part of it's going to be stemming from the core framework and you practicing. And then as you're out and about, you'll just hear stuff. Like when I would listen to some of the training I listened to back in the day with Dan, I'd be like, how do I handle this future pace situation? And that'd be like a nagging thing in the back of my brain. And then I'd hear on a coaching call, a group call, someone else would have that question. Like, oh, well, this is how you handle it. Okay, check that box. Now I don't have to worry about that.
So future pace, is that like what dream outcome? What's that future?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ideal scenario, ideal body, like that type of stuff.
Okay.
Which actually, just for context here, I have a much broader like understanding of different sales methodologies. So if I say something weird or out of turn, you can just ask. At the end of the day, it's all the same. It's just that different people call it different stuff. But to answer your question, Don, yes, that's basically what that is. So if someone says cost of an action and I say consequence, in my head, it's the exact same thing. But some people, they split hairs on it. I don't care too much. If someone says deep pain and then I hear current state, to me, that's the exact same stuff. But in different programs, people call it different stuff. It is the same thing at the end of the day, with some minor nuance difference. So, good question, though. Good question. I saw Nick hopped in here. Nick, how you doing?
Doing good, man. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Appreciate you asking. How are things since we last chatted?
Pretty good. Pretty good. I've been applying. I told my offer owner. I told my offer owner yesterday I'm leaving.
Okay.
So, I just felt like that was the best thing because at the end of the day, I just found it so hard, like balancing the time.
Okay.
Of like, I felt like I wanted, which actually something I was going to ask you about is like,
Mhm.
I feel myself wanting to do like everything at once, right?
Yep.
So
Mhm.
I take calls from 9 a.m. to 6 or 7 p.m.
Yep.
Get off work,
Mhm.
go to the gym,
Mhm.
and then like I have like my day's basically over, and then I'm cramming in like, okay, I gotta apply this many places. Okay, but I also wanna watch the state videos.
Yep.
That's one thing is like while I'm still here, because I think it's gonna be another 2 weeks while I'm still on this offer.
Okay.
How can I manage the time to make
Okay.
sure that I'm like, I guess, hitting everything, if that makes sense?
Yep. Yeah, good question. And so circling back to, I know that Nick wasn't here for it, but circling back to
Yeah.
what I was mentioning before about my golden hour, like
Okay.
that was before I was like I would wake up to go to work at like 3:30. So that meant I had to wake up an additional hour early to get in my golden hour to be able to get the right progress while, because that's the thing, he just said himself, he's like, he's trying to fit everything in.
Yep.
And it can be hard. And especially at the end of the day, if you're tired, you're like, I have to do these next 60 minutes of study time when your brain's not in it. And then you're just like, I just want to go to bed. So the way I would prevent that is by waking up earlier. Yes, it sucked, but then my brain's fresh and then I can practice. So in terms of you, Nick, so you got 2 weeks worth of runway. The number one most important thing is figuring out what's the biggest priority for you. That's the biggest and most important thing, because I can't tell you what that is. And that's going to determine how we structure your day. Because right now you're working, it's not something you can get out of. You still have to work out. That's something you still have to do. But depending on what your number one priority is, that's going to affect what you spend your discretionary time on. And then how we order the other things. Because you could theoretically spend forever putting in for looms, but then you're missing out on listening to some of the other training.
Exactly.
That type of stuff.
Yeah.
So what do you think is your biggest priority right now?
That's a good question. So I think that's something that I kind of want to actually ask you too, is like
Okay.
I find myself obviously wanting to land like that next
Yep.
closing, like that closing role that I want, right?
Yep.
And I find myself obviously wanting to do that as fast as possible,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So I'm thinking like, oh, next 2 weeks I gotta do it. I gotta do it, right? I gotta land one within February, I gotta land it, right?
Hmm.
But at the same time, I want to be ready when I'm on that offer,
Right.
right? To close,
Yep.
right? So I
Yep.
want to get those role plays in. I want to do that as well.
Yep.
So I'm gonna say, based on just hearing myself talk, like what I'm thinking is, I think I'm gonna land that offer at some point anyway.
Yep.
I guess maybe skill and state should probably come before that. And I
Okay.
guess I want to know what you think about that.
Well, I mean, again, this is my opinion on your priorities.
Okay.
So I just want to preface that, like, this is just
Yeah.
me. Yeah, I can give you what I think, but
Yeah.
like I was telling Dom before, it's like at the end of the day, it's your responsibility to make the decision for yourself. So
Yep.
and here's the truth. Like, once the position's done, like, do you need to have an offer by the end of these 2 weeks?
Do I need to? No.
Okay. So theoretically, your schedule is going to open up after that.
Yeah.
Ideally,
Exactly.
you'd like to immediately pick up and be ready from a skill set perspective on a new offer, though.
Yeah.
Okay. So if that is the case, then based on the feedback I gave you this last time,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of looms,
Yeah.
I guess what kind of progress have we made around that, if anything?
So I'm in contact so I went the route of like just hitting up a bunch of recruiters that I was in contact with before.
Yep.
So
Okay.
like I went on my WhatsApp and
Yep.
then because before obviously like months ago, I was just applying to a bunch and I have a bunch of contacts. So
Yep.
as of now, I'm setting up a meeting with a recruiter for either tomorrow or the next day.
Okay.
So that's
Okay.
where I'm at with that.
Okay.
That's the only person as of right now who I have an interview with.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
I'm continuing to, and what I did was I went on school, found a
Mhm.
bunch of groups, school groups for high ticket sales and just people who are
Yep.
posting their offers there.
Yep.
Joined a bunch of those, and I'm gonna be scraping through those, picking. I targeted for three a day that I'll be
Okay.
sending looms for.
Okay.
So I'll be picking 3 a day from there.
Okay.
And then, but since last week, it has gone, yeah, it has gone good, I guess, long story short.
Okay. Okay. Cool. And so, based on how your process is right now, in terms of getting offers to then put in for and make looms for,
Yeah.
how confident do you feel that you can maintain that
Yeah.
while still studying and trying to improve your closing skills?
So not very confident. So
Not very confident at all.
no,
Okay.
I don't, with right now with how it's going it's just, I do find it hard to maintain that
Okay.
while still going through the modules,
Okay.
taking notes on the state stuff, on the offer
Yep.
stuff.
Yep.
So as of right now, I do find that a bit difficult.
Okay. How much time are you spending going through this process? Like, let's say on a daily basis?
Like going through,
Like,
the
you've joined a
courses
bunch of
stuff?
communities, like scraping them, sourcing them.
Yeah, I
potentially
just
making
started
them-
doing that.
Okay.
So that specifically, I just started doing that. But
Okay.
like, just for example, like last Friday, I spent like 2 hours finding all the communities and
Okay.
joining them.
Okay. And so, have you put in for any offers yet?
I have sent, I'd say a total of 4 so far.
4 looms. How long did it take
Yeah.
you to make the looms?
The looms I've gotten pretty quick at, like 15 minutes
Okay,
Per one?
15 minutes.
per
Per?
loom. Yeah,
Okay.
per
Oh, yeah,
loom.
that's not bad. So that means 4 looms.
Because I take a bunch and I pick the perfect one, and yeah,
Yeah. Okay. And so, is it finding the offers that's kind of like the?
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
it's finding the offer.
Okay, got you.
Yeah.
And okay, so how much time has it take? So for the offers you have put in for, how much time did it take you to do that?
In total,
Yeah.
like for the 4 that I've put in so far.
Yeah.
I would say an hour and a half to 2 hours
Per or for everything?
just for everything.
Okay.
Like making all the looms for those specific ones, but
Yeah.
that's not counting like finding the offers. Like I'm just saying, like what I did was I found the four,
Hmm.
and then I just made the looms like in kind of like in a couple settings.
Yep.
So in
Yep.
total, I would say making the looms an hour and a half to 2 hours.
Okay. But actually
Yeah.
finding these offers took how much?
Took all week. I mean, I found them by the end of the week, so
Okay.
it took
Okay.
like all week.
The
Yeah.
reason why I'm asking is to get a gauge
Yeah.
of like how much effort it's taking you to get these different roles.
Yeah.
Because the thing is that if we have a limited amount of time in a day,
Yep.
and you are having to work and you are having to do gyms, we have to be tactical with like what we're actually like the distribution.
That's
Because
exactly what I'm looking for. Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
so you're listening to stuff at gym, I imagine, like as
Yes.
you're okay. Have you been practicing with anybody? No right or wrong answer, but like have you had the time to practice with anybody
Yeah.
else?
Well, just the group role plays. Yeah. Last week. So
Okay.
I've going. So what I have now is like basically I have this call and like every other call this week blocked on
Yep.
my calendar,
Yep.
and then every other space in my calendar is calls except for like my meeting with like my group meeting with the offer.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
yeah, I joined the role plays last week and I role played during the
Okay.
set time.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then how comfortable on those role plays are you feeling with the process?
I would say so I role played Logic
Yep.
phase, so the first phase, which is like so I feel very comfortable with that one because and that's one I've only role played that one so far. I haven't role played other ones
Okay.
just because I'm trying to like get a good comfortability. You know, I think it was like 7 out of 10 right in the course. I get that
Yep.
7 out of 10
Yep.
comfortability. So that one I'm comfortable with because it's very similar to which was called like the alignment phase of like the other
Yep.
program that I was in before.
Yep.
So I mean, I wouldn't put it like quite at the max. I'd put it at like 6, maybe 7.
Okay. 6,
Yeah.
maybe 7. Okay.
Yeah.
What do you, in terms of that? Because in my head, this is what I'm thinking. How can we get you through so that you feel comfortable enough to where if you do land an offer,
Mm-hmm.
you feel confident with your skills? That's what I'm thinking. So if we're at like a
Yes.
6-ish,
Yeah.
in my head, I'm thinking, how quickly can we get you to a 7 so you can go to the other sections of the framework?
So I can move on. Yeah.
Yeah, because the thing is, if I'm not expecting you to be freaking Einstein in the logic phase,
Of course.
but how can we get you to where you feel comfortable enough to where we can go on to the other sections?
Yeah.
And then with that, I guess how many more role plays do you feel like you need to get to that like 7 out of 10?
I feel like one a day.
One a day?
Something. One a day for like the next week here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. For the role plays you have done, how much time has that taken usually?
Yeah, I would say like maybe 10 minutes.
10 minutes?
5 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, if I role play, like if I do it once through, yeah.
Yep. Okay, cool. And again, the reason why I'm splitting hairs with this is because
Oh, it's good.
this is how I think about reverse engineering,
Yeah.
booking times in my calendar to get this sorted. So, because if we
Yeah.
know that I can get a role play done in 15 minutes, then
Yeah.
my question is like, okay, so if I've got only 60 minutes
Yeah.
worth of time I can put towards this, and it takes me 15 minutes to do a role play, how can
Yeah.
I get somebody ready to roll at, I don't remember what time zone you're in, but like at a specific
Mhm.
time. So we're all both meeting there, so I can immediately kick off and I can just do a role play. And then extra 45 minutes is spent sourcing an offer or making a loop.
Yes.
So it's like time budgeting. But the thing
Yeah.
is we have to measure exactly how much time we are spending
Yeah.
or we are capable of spending,
Yeah.
plus what are the other responsibilities we have in our day? Like
Yeah.
for me, back when I first started, it was okay, so I'm working from 3:30 in the morning until give or take around like 1 p.m. Central Time.
Yeah.
And then I had until like 7 o'clock bed. So then I had from 1 to 7 to do stuff. I also had to work out, gym, that type of stuff.
Mhm.
I also was a trucker. So that was an advantage to me, is that I could just put on as I'm driving around for 6 hours, the coaching
Yeah.
calls as I was doing that. You can't quite do that
Yeah,
But that's where getting specifics of like what is it, what am I actually doing? And then
exactly.
not leaving it up to chance. So how much time per day, job aside, gym aside, do you feel you can realistically put into, if it's going to be looms, role plays, like whatever,
Yeah.
like how much you feel is realistic for you?
I'm gonna kind of think now. So let's say I go to the gym like right after I get done.
Yep.
Well, let's say 30 minutes after, because I'm not gonna just
Yep.
like get there.
Mhm.
But so I get to the gym at 6:30, an hour, 7, get back at 8.
Mhm.
Ideally get back at, let's say, 8:15 just to be safe.
Yep.
So get home at 8:15, and then from there I have time to do whatever.
Okay.
So 8, 9, 10, I'll say 2.5 to 3 hours because I want to get to bed by 11, ideally,
Yeah. Okay.
just to get to sleep. So 2.5 to 3 hours.
Okay. So you have 2.5. Okay. So that's actually a good amount of time. So if we
Yeah.
know that you only need like 15 minutes to role play with somebody,
Yeah.
you obviously want to be courteous, and it's probably going to be you role play and then they role play. So that's 30 minutes worth of time. So
Yep.
then it's just find somebody from the community. I can figure out how to coordinate with them so we can do
Yep.
that dedicated 30 minutes. Okay, so now we have 2.5 hours, and you've already checked off the box a daily role play.
Okay.
Cool. So then we
Yep.
have 2.5 hours left. Okay, so over the course of 2.5 hours, every single day, if we include weekends, if it's taken us, I don't remember how many hours you said it took you to find whatever offers, but like let's say it takes you an hour to find an offer. So that
Yep.
means every week you have the potential of like 10 offers plus.
Yeah.
So that's your schedule right there. Now, if we're having to factor in like, listening to coaching calls, going to what I was talking about with Dom before, like the coaching calls come from the framework of you doing it
Exactly.
and then having questions that are based off of it.
Yep.
So if you're like, oh, well, how do I ask a question? Like this person's giving me a crappy bottleneck. They're giving me this thing. Well, now top of your list, and you'll want to write it down as like, this is my like number one biggest question I have right now.
Yeah.
And then you'll either visit Dan's coaching call, my coaching call, or Jack's coaching call and ask specifically about it.
Okay.
And you're going to give them full context on it. What I used to do back in the day is like, hey, here's the context, and then funnel it down to there's only like a yes or no question. So I do the thinking ahead of time for people.
Yeah.
Or that's what I would try to do with my mentors, to take as little bandwidth from them as possible. Because, I mean, you and I are going back and forth right now, and I'm asking you questions to get the context. But if you've done the thinking ahead of time, then you can just give to them, and then they can give you a very easy yes or no.
Okay.
Or like do X, or have you thought about Y?
Yeah.
So, but this is like the mental exercise you can go through, budgeting your time. But again, why this plan? It's based on your priority. If you're on an offer, then it's like, well, you've got 3 hours worth of time that you could be
That's when it
spending on
gets
coaching
easy,
calls. And exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But the thing is like, it does depend on where you're at, the availability you have, the flexibility you have. Like me, back in the day, I had the opportunity of having 6 hours worth of just drive time to listen to coaching calls.
Exactly.
So then my actual time of intention was spent role playing, or it was spent verbally just saying, oh, well, I guess I could kind of do that when I was driving too. But all right, Dom, appreciate you hopping on. But does that make sense for you?
It does. And I take it back to like when I first hopped on like the offer I'm on now. It's like what it was back then. Like back then I wasn't looking for a new offer, so I was just using all my extra time practicing and reviewing my calls.
Yep.
Right. So that's kind of what it was. But so it was a lot easier in that sense, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing, is getting clarity. Because the reason why people sometimes are like, well, what should I do or what shouldn't I do? It's because there's like unknown variables.
Yeah.
Like whenever there is lack of clarity, that's usually when we slow down, we get overwhelmed. It's because our brain is trying to compute all these different things.
Yeah.
And it can't, like if I can only think of like 3 things at once and I've got 6 things I'm keeping track of, you're just going to overload, and then you feel overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So what I do is I usually simplify, get the data, because once you get the data and you get really clear on what is actually going on, then it's actually quite simple to understand what you need to do.
Exactly. No, it's just I think the main thing that I needed is understanding the priorities, obviously, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then I've realized that obviously, okay, 15 minutes a day on role play, which is skill, right?
Mhm.
And then I'll spend an hour or two on landing, like finding their offers and applying for them.
Yep.
Right. And then the rest I can watch maybe 30 minutes of state
Mhm.
modules, take notes on those.
Yep.
I think that's the order right there is landing an offer.
Yep.
Skill, so practice.
Yep.
And then state, so do some mindset studying.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's the order right there. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then that's the thing too, is as soon as you get an offer, then you can totally shift the
For
priority
sure.
stack. And then it's
Then
like,
those-
oh,
Yeah. Yeah,
Right.
landing an offer will be completely off the table because I already have one.
exactly.
Yeah.
But it goes back to, again, what's the priority? And then what's the highest leverage thing you can do
Yeah,
to move towards that?
exactly.
And that's ultimately, it's just decision making, but it's sometimes hard to make decisions in a vacuum without knowing the variables that are at play.
You also did mention waking up earlier too. And I feel like I definitely could do as well.
Yeah,
Is maybe,
that's the
maybe
thing.
get an hour in the morning. Get an
Yeah.
hour in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing is like I budgeted. I'm like, okay, I know that for me personally, and this comes to knowing who you are and what you are and what you do, is like
Yeah.
I'm like, I know I need 8 hours of quality sleep. Because if I'm fried, I'm not going
me
to learn
too.
nearly as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
But then I also know this about myself is it usually takes me a bit of time to fall asleep. So if I just had 8 hours booked on the calendar just for sleep, I'm gonna get like 7.5, maybe 7:15 of actual
Mhm.
sleep. So that means I give myself a buffer of like 8.5 or maybe 9 hours. And then I'm like, well, how many hours are in a week? There's 156. You subtract 7 days a week, 9 hours a piece. You have a certain amount that you have scheduled specifically for sleep. Then you think about what is my work? Okay, I have X amount of work time that I can't mess with. Okay, and then I have my gym. That's a non-negotiable for me. And so those are usually the three biggest things. Then the rest is like I could probably eat food while listening to freaking state, or I could probably like listen to stuff with my phone as I'm showering in state, or that type of stuff. And that's where it gets, how can I do 2 or 3 things at once?
Exactly.
And it's just time budgeting everything.
Yeah. That's the thing with
Essentially.
eating. It's like basically because right now I'm taking 20-minute discovery calls. So
Okay.
on Zoom, where like I'm
Yep.
pitching the $97 shoulder thing.
Yep.
So if I get a no-show, that's basically when I eat. I don't really
Yeah.
I just go get
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. And if you know your numbers, then it's like, well, okay, I don't even need to set time aside to eat because I know that statistically
Yeah.
I'm going to have 2 people not show up.
Exactly.
Then I'll just have my food ready. So when someone does not show up, I'll just eat during that time. And that'll vary from day to day.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's literally like, that's really all it comes down to is you reverse engineer what you can't get out of, which is sleep, hygiene, food. For me, gym is another one of those. If you have a family, that's another thing you got to think about. Like you have kids, do you want to take them somewhere? Do you have to pick kids up from school? Like that type of stuff. I mean, obviously you can't just like leave your kids at daycare 24/7 for 6 months. Like that's not going to be helpful. So there's realistic things you have to factor in. But once you actually sit down and you figure it out, you're like, this is realistically what I can do.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just being disciplined with sticking to it and then doing it, which that's ultimately for you to be able to hold yourself accountable to.
Yeah. And the one thing with the role play is like during the days, I don't know if I can't remember if it's like Wednesday or Tuesday, but like the role play with Jack, for example, I hop on that call, 15-minute role play, then I don't have to do it later, and then I can spend an extra 15 minutes on
exactly. Or hell, you could do one with Jack and then one later.
I could 30-minute day.
Whatever. Yeah. Again, whatever you feel like is going to move the needle.
Whatever like the priorities are. Exactly.
But excellent.
Oh,
So
that helped a lot.
Go forth and do it, and then we'll talk next week to see how things are. And here's the thing: this isn't like set in stone. If you find shit isn't working, you adjust it.
Exactly. Yeah. But I'll definitely test something out this week.
100%. Roxy, I see you're back up here again.
Yes. That was very enlightening, very helpful to listen to, because I have a tendency to feel like there is a specific way to do something, and if I fall off of that, then I'm doing myself a disservice. And so what that just revealed is I'm currently on an offer as well. And I
Okay.
know that one of my bottlenecks is skill in specific discovery. And so state was my focus for getting into this mentorship because I
Mhm.
tend to, collapse when I feel like I've made a mistake.
Okay.
At the same time, I do need to be building my skills so that I can continue making money on my
Mhm.
current offer
Yep.
while I work within. So I
Right.
guess if that is the case, then as I'm moving through these modules, how would I go about, building skill and state? Because for
Yep.
what I'm gathering, state is something that I can go through in less active conscious moments, almost as like a subconscious
Yeah.
rewiring type of
It
thing.
depends. It does depend on specifically in state what you're talking, like what we're going through, because there are active things you do need to do. Like there's a whole freaking laundry list of stuff you got to fill out.
Yeah.
But to be fair, just as like a little hack for you, what I did is I basically was like copied everything, put it into like one Google Doc basically, and I pasted it in a GPT. I'm like, feed it to me one at a time. And then literally all I did was answered whatever one question it gave me. And the beautiful thing about GPT is if I get distracted, I can walk away and it'll still remember everything I put down and I can come back to it.
Yeah.
So it really comes down to budgeting, like time budgeting. So if you're like, okay, I want to get good at skills because I need to get better, but then I also know that state's important because I have this internal block,
Yeah.
then it's like, again, you can go through a similar process I just did with Nick, which is like, what's my sleep time? What's my work time? Do I have family? Do I have kids? Because obviously, if you've committed to reading and bedtime stories, you better damn well do that. Like whatever that looks like for you. And then you just systematically peel back from what is something you cannot get out of, i.e., sleep, eat, that type of stuff. And then, okay, well, what's my work time? Is it variable? If so, what's the range? And then you have a mental checklist and a plan like Nick does. If I get a no-show, that's what I'm going to eat. For you, if you don't get a book call, or I don't know if you're setting, if you're closing or whatever that specifically is, but if you have a gap, it's not just like I'm going to go like figure out what I'm going to go ahead and do for this next hour. You already know exactly what you're going to do.
Okay.
Because then that's like when there's lack of clarity, that's when I forget which law it is, but it's like work expands to fill the time a lot. And so if you don't have a plan and you're trying to figure stuff out, and on top of that, you have an hour worth of time, if you spend 20 minutes trying to figure out what you're going to do, and then you're like, oh, well, I have until the end of this hour to get it figured out, that's going to be your whole, if it's a no-show and then you've got 60 minutes, that's going to be that whole time block right there. As opposed to if you're like, this is, as soon as my first no-show shows up or doesn't show up, this is what I'm specifically working on, and this is specifically how I'm going to work on it. And I'm going to do as quickly as I can. And this is if I have additional time, this is the next thing after that.
Okay. Yeah.
So for Nick, it might be like, what are some communities I could also join into that might bring me more offers if he's specifically trying to solve the offer problem?
I see.
Or like, okay, who are the top 3 people I could reach out to help role play if I'm trying to get better at role playing? Cool, I already know who those people are. And then as soon as I get my no-show, I build a good message and I message them. So it really just is, again, but it comes back to your priority and what you feel is the constraint. Because if you feel the constraint is your skill, and then based on some of the other stuff you've talked about, it could also be state, then we have to think, okay, if I've got 2 hours, does it make sense to help me make the most progress to do an hour each? Or does it make more sense for me to do an hour and 20 on state because that's a bigger needle mover and then 40 minutes practicing?
I see.
Or do I have 3 hours? Or do I have 3 dedicated hours and potentially more if I have a no-show? If so, how do I order things?
Okay. Got it.
And so all this, like what we're talking about today, I guess for the sake of this call, is just how do I get the most progress done based on my scenario?
Okay.
But there's a couple things that go into it. Number one, what is your scenario? And number two, based on it, where are you trying to get to? And then after you have both of those, what's the fastest and most precise way to get the most progress done in the least amount of time, work, energy, that type of stuff? Like for Nick, if he knows he's going to go to the gym every single day, I guarantee you during one of his no-shows, he could get all of his gym gear figured out and in a bag by the door. So then as soon as it's done, it doesn't take him 15 minutes to get going. He just pick up his bag and walk out the door. And that's where like those little like product, if you've seen people on YouTube do like productivity maximization stuff, that's basically what they're talking about.
Okay, excellent.
Do you have any follow-up on that? Because I do have the tendency to ramble and I don't mean to cut
No,
people
this
off.
is good. It's really get organized with your schedule, also iron out your priorities and really make sure that the time is not wasted. It's awesome.
Exactly. And here's the thing, as a side tangent, based on what Dom mentioned before, he's like, I feel like, yes, even though Jack and Dan have told me X, I feel like Y is the way I should be doing this.
Yeah.
Well, number one, if that's the case, then I would potentially message Jack and Dan and clarify, I think this is my issue. Why did you tell me to do that instead?
My computer's about to die, so that's why I'm moving, but I'm
Yep,
listening.
yep. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. It wouldn't be the first time something like that's
I was
happened to
like,
me.
This is gold. I do not want to.
Well, it's recorded anyways, so I'll make sure I can get the recording for everybody. But so essentially, it really just comes down to, at the end of the day, you're responsible for your success.
Yeah.
Myself, Jack, Dan are all here to support you to the best of our abilities. But if you don't understand something, in my opinion, it's always good to clarify. Like if I'm being told to go jump off a bridge and I think I should do something different, I could just ignore what they told me and just do it my way. Or I could ask them why they told me to do that so I could understand it and see if it's valid. And then go back and forth. Because sometimes they'll tell you to do something and they don't have complete context in your situation like you do. And then by you stress testing it, you can tell them and inform them. And then ultimately everybody's in a much better place. So hopefully that is super clear.
Super. Thank you.
All right, good stuff. And Maya, I don't know, do you have anything you want to add or question?
I just have a quick question, but it's a really random one,
Okay.
not on the subject. So I just wonder, does anybody ever use a script when they start working with like a new framework? Just because I'm just wondering whether that's something that, yeah, because it's really hard to like memorize everything all at once.
Yeah.
Do you guys do that?
So obviously there's the framework itself.
Yeah.
The question you specifically asked is, do people use scripts? The answer is yes. I know that Dan and Jack do not like they don't say here's our script, because the thing is every offer is a little bit different, and one script for one offer is not necessarily going to work on another offer, but the underlying principles between the two will. So just for my clarity, are you looking for something specific to practice with to understand the principles, or where does that question come from?
So what I'm looking for is, because basically this framework is a little bit different to what I'm used to working with. So I don't want to like try memorizing it, but I kind of feel like when I'm on a call, I need to have something that I can just like quickly look at. Yeah. And just be like, okay, exactly.
Yeah.
Do we have something like that?
I believe so. Before I go deeper on that, just for my understanding, what is like the previous, if it's training, if it's whatever, what are you like coming from in terms of like sales training, that type of stuff?
Oh gosh, I did it like 2 years ago. I don't even remember that guy's name. He's not like big in the space, so I can't even remember his name.
That's fine.
But it was basically like a super, super easy sort of formula, like, yeah, you go through the like pain, and then you sort of go through like what they want in the future. You make sure the gap is really wide, and then like you talk about the consequences of the inaction, and then go through objections. So it was kind of just like really simple like that.
Okay, got you. Okay, cool. So the main, just to give you a brief, because I do have to hop in about 5 minutes, but to give you
no worries.
One, yes, I think I can find something. Are you on a fitness offer, or are you on like more of a BizOp-y offer?
BizOp, yeah.
Okay, cool. I'll see if I can find something specifically for that. The other thing I'll say is that the main difference between Dan's and like that process is that before you even get into the pain, we're trying to establish psychologically, where is this person? And what I mean by that is, if I told you, or if I asked you, Maya, like, who wants to be a millionaire? You
Everybody.
probably say everybody. But then what actually is it that, like, why is it that some people have it and others don't?
Mm-hmm.
It's not because of resources.
No,
It's
mindset.
because
Yeah.
of the psychology. So in other words, logic phase is diagnosing what is the psychological reason they're not already where they want to go, where they already want to be,
Okay.
and then helping them see that and take ownership of it. Usually in a biz op offer, it's going to be something around procrastination, around uncertainty, around fear of some type. And then that's going to be whatever their bottleneck is. Depending, I don't know specifically what biz op thing you have,
Mm-hmm.
but usually that's what it is.
Yeah, so like I wouldn't mind obviously like adjusting it to my offer specifically. It would
Right.
just like I was just wondering if you have anything that's just sort of like this
Yeah.
is what you go through.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
step by
Which,
step.
yes, there is something like that. But I'm just saying, for your understanding, what
Mm-hmm.
you have now is totally valid. It's just like this is essentially going to add on an additional section to the beginning.
Yeah, okay.
As
Understood.
basically like the main, because essentially it's like, what's the goal number? Cool. What have you tried? Nothing. Why not?
Mm-hmm.
And then they're going to go through the whole rigmarole. And then it's
Yeah.
like, I'm scared. Okay, well, if you continue to allow yourself to be scared to stop from doing what you need to do, what's that going to do? Not a whole lot of anything. Okay, are you willing to move past that? Yes. Why now? Well, because of, and then they talk about their pains, why they're not happy with where they're at, blah, 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 blah. Really clear. And it's like, okay, so if you did move past the fear and you got to where you want to go, what does that future look like? Future base, desire, dream, that type of thing. Cool. Well, here's the thing. At the end of the day, you have to step past the fear. What happens if you don't? Consequence. And then blah, 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 blah. Are you going to allow that to happen? No. Why not? Whose responsibility, etc. Cool. And then you move into the actual pitch. But yeah, I'll get something together.
Okay.
I'll have to look it up, but I'll try to post it. You could, I think I'll probably add it to like the coaching thread, to be fair.
Okay.
But yes.
No worries. It's just I was just wondering because it's sometimes like I remember when I was starting out, like it was easy for me to like it was useful for me to have a script
Yeah, no,
at
100%.
first, and obviously, and then you don't really use it anymore. But
Yeah.
in the beginning, it was easy.
No, 100%. That's exactly how I started. So don't feel bad about
Yeah.
that.
Okay, thanks.
All right. So on that note, Maya and Roxy, appreciate you staying to the end.
Nice.
I will see if I can give that to you, Maya. If you have any follow-up questions, of course, feel free to message me. I do have to hop to a call, so there is that. But I will also post the recording of this in the group calls thread.
Thank you so much. Thank
Right.
you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
100%.
Bye.
Pleasure meeting both of you. Talk to you all very, very soon.
Bye bye.